Okay, let's look at the locating finger. So what are the unique properties of locating finger that we have to be concerned about? So I'm just going to redraw this top view using the dimensions that were provided, and then we'll reproject this and this. Okay, so this part of it here you should be able to get. The angled features here are a result of the dimensions that were provided for the corners here. We get 13 but at a 45. So 13 at a 45 I can do as just a line command. I can do line, I'm going to track off of this edge and go back 13. And then make sure my polar tracking angle is set to 45 and then create those 45-degree angles. Another way to do this is to, then I have to trim afterwards. Another way to do this is to use a new command, chamfer. Let's try it. So chamfer distance. I want to set the first chamfer distance to 13, enter. And then you see it gives you as a default the same distance you started with as a second distance, because a lot of chamfers are 45-degree angles. So when you hit enter through that second choice and then pick the two lines, it works a lot like fillet and it gives you the same result. Let's go back to the dimensions. So I want to set up this middle piece. So I can see that it's 54 millimeters wide, and the center of it, or the center of this phantom circle, which is the finger, is at 40. So I'm going to draw that center phantom figure first with a diameter of 32 at the 40, and then use that as my offsetting position for defining the width of that middle piece. So let's go down here in this view. Oh, and the other thing we need to look at too is where's the center of this object. The center of that finger is at a distance of 21. So the height at the very peak of this here, and where the center of this locating finger is at 21 millimeters from this surface here, not from the very bottom of this object, but from the raised, what is this, 14 millimeter thick base, okay? So if I go back to this view, I basically want to create a circle using the midpoint of that view and go up 21 millimeters and put in a diameter of 32, and I've got the circle in the right position. Now that should be on a phantom layer. From the center of that circle, or from the midpoint I should say, I can go over 27 and then up 21 and then across 54 and back down again, and that should be the centered raised piece that we're looking at. Now, when we look at the dimensions for these angled lines, they're all tangent to that circle, and we have 6 sides. If you were to continue to go, we are only showing 3 sides of a polygon. So I'm going to use the polygon command to create that, and then just trim it. So if I go into polygon and make that 6 sides, pick the center of the phantom circle, and make this a circumscribed polygon, and have it go to the outside edge of the circle like that. Now these lines that I have here are tangent to that phantom circle. Use trim, and use this top edge as a trimming edge, and remove that top half of the polygon. I should have also used trim to grab the polygon and trim between the 2 lines, and now we have the shape that results. So let's create things we need here. We have to use this side view here to see the dimensions for the back features of that top raised piece. So we have 21, but then we have 5 millimeters down from the top to create this shelf, and then we have 5 millimeters over from the edge of the part, and then this shelf is the back edge of the shelf here is 11 millimeters back. So let's draw a line from here up, and I'm going to offset that 11 and just erase that. Nope, offset that 5. Now I will erase that. And then I want to go down, offset 5, and then trim those pieces together. So trim, I want to do this. So it looks like that when we're done. So So now where are we? We are needing to create an arc that goes from this point to that point with a radius of 54 right there. So I can use arc, start, and radius to do that. Let's try that. So arc start, arc end, and a radius of 54 gives us exactly what we want. So now I just need to add my hidden lines to this view, like so. And I need to project this information up to this top view. So let's switch back to the object layers. And then you're going to see where we started with the view, why it looked the way it did, and why I stopped it where I stopped it. So let's take these lines here from the right side view up to the miter line. And we're also going to see these lines here. And we've got to make sense of all this. And one more line I need to add is to here. Okay. So what's actually happening here, and let's put these, I'll leave it like that for now. So we have to really pay attention to where we're projecting from. This edge is the edge of the top raised feature. So we need to trim everything out from that edge back. And this is the total width, so we can trim everything between the beyond those two lines. So now what's happening here? What is this line here for? That's showing the edge of this angled surface. But we are missing some information. We need to also project a hidden line over here in this view. And I'll turn that into a hidden line here in a minute. That should be both hidden lines. And then if we do project from these, where these hidden lines are hitting those angled surfaces, what's really going on here is this angled edge, it doesn't go all the way to the back. It stops where this line or this line here is projected to. So that's where I've stopped that line. And then this is what we're seeing here as that surface. We're looking down on that hidden line surface. So we have that shelf, if you will, back here. So I want to trim between these two lines and get that resulting shape. And I know now that this line is going to trim to this edge. So that's what we're looking down on, okay? So let's take it to the front. Where did this hidden line come from, and what is it going to pertain to? It should align up with where these 2 points are. If I look to see where those hit, it's from here to here. So really that edge is only going to show up between those 2 lines, like that. And exactly the same thing is happening on the other side. So I'm going to erase the lines that I had over there and just mirror, mirror these features to the other side. Now this isn't quite right still, so we're not really seeing where these arches are being represented. And what's really going to happen here is we're going to see a irregular curve being created here because we're cutting into a circular feature. And that circular feature is constantly changing as we cut into it. So it's going to create this irregular curve up in this top view. I'm going to switch to a different line type so we can see how to figure that out. We already know where the beginning of the curve is and where the end of the curve is, but we need to find enough information between the two to figure out where that curve goes. So I'm going to randomly draw a line. Oh, let's pick the midpoint of the arc. That's fine. We'll use the midpoint of the arc, draw that across. And just leave that line crossing over here. And then we want to pick exactly the same spot, the midpoint of the arc, and draw it until it hits the edge of that angled line. From there, we want to draw a line up. And what we've just done is located 1 point along that irregular curve arc. I'm going to see if that gives us enough information to draw the spline. I love this spline command because it allows you to create a curvy line type that is irregular. And look at that. All we needed were those 3 points. And if I hit enter, I end up with that irregular curve, and I know what that shape is going to look like. And I only need to do this on one side because I can just take that spline now and mirror it over to the other side, and I know what that part is looking like from the top view. So do you see how this arched surface, we found out 1 point along that irregular curve, and we had 3 points. We can use spline. Spline's going to kind of interpret that curve for us and allow us to draw in that irregular curve. And as long as this is symmetrical, it has been done correctly. So the rest of this, I think, is boilerplate because it's just a matter of drawing the holes in here. But this one's a little trickier. You can see why it's worth a little bit more points because we've got to figure a lot more things out.